Welcome to the weekend warm-up Ascot preview. Joining me is Martin Dixon. And Martin, it's been a fabulous couple of days so far.
It has, hasn't it? Yeah, there's been some really good performances. We expect that, don't we, at Royal Ascot? Of course you do, but it hasn't let us down. I suppose the only little factor that's been niggling away is the draw has been a sort of constant through the first couple of days. But to be honest, that's not uncommon, is it? In any at most tracks, there are draw biases that sort of establish themselves a little bit. And at least in those big field races like the Hunt Cup yesterday, we saw that horses could be competitive and even win from the lower numbers as well when they actually spread right across the track. The difference seems to be, or the bias seems to be more when they're in one group and sort of coming more towards the stand side, that the closer you are to the rail, really, the better. It has been sort of as a general theme over the course of the first couple of days.
Okay, well, they were forecast quite a lot of rain. Most of that hasn't materialised so far. It'll be interesting to see what happens between now and tomorrow, but I'm sort of working on the basis we're not going to get quite as much as they maybe thought. We'll start with the Albany, and Flotus is a horse that's been, well talked about, touted, because she was really quite impressive when she absolutely hacked up at Goodwood. Did that impress you?
Of course, like she was really good, wasn't she? She fluffed the start a little bit, got behind, and still managed to come through and readily pick off the field and go away and win by nearly 5 lengths. You couldn't help but be impressed by her. She looked very smart, didn't she? The way that she won that race. And to be honest, it's difficult to be sort of overly negative about her chance, but there are plenty of these that did it and that looked impressive. The form of that Goodwood race, I guess, is the thing that you would question a little bit, because Prism has come out and been a little bit disappointing subsequently. And it was on soft ground as well, Emma. So if the rain doesn't come, then that's another little factor to consider, that if the current conditions are what we're working on, which is good to firm ground as it stands, then that could be problematic for Flotus. But she certainly was very impressive. But equally impressive, I think it's fair to say, and for my money, maybe a little bit more impressive.
Even if it was at Wolverhampton. I know what you're going to say.
But it looked a hot race going into it, didn't it, at Wolverhampton? Plenty of fancied horses. She was sent off 5-1. George Bowie had a runner in that race. Archie Watson had a runner. John Gosden had a runner. And they were all sort of attracting little bits of support. And unlike Flotus, that form has actually worked out. We've seen Sunstrike come out and be successful subsequently out of that race. We've seen other placed horses that have shown improvement on the back of that. And Hello You just waltzed away from them 6.5 lengths. She opened up in no time the home straight. Really fast closing sectional from her as well for the last couple of furlongs. And this is a filly that cost €350,000 as a yearling. She's an invincible spirit filly out of a pivotal mare. Some really smart horses throughout her family. And obviously, she made a well above average winning debut. So Hello You, for me, has made the most sparkling impression on me.
Yeah, totally agree. As you say, as we both said, it was at Wolverhampton, but it was the manner in which she did it. The time very much backed it up. And as you said, it's hard to have a very strong opinion about this when they've ran once and they've dotted up. Who's to say on different conditions what they're going to do at Ascot? But no, nevertheless, an intriguing way to kick off race 1 on day 3 at Royal Ascot. So what about King Edward, I should say, Alan Kerr, who beat the Derby winner last time out? If you weren't strictly on form, you'd go, wow. But there's more depth, isn't it? And it's not just quite as simple as that.
It's not. I would say for a few reasons, really. On the day when Alan Kerr beat Adayar, I thought Adayar shaped like the best horse in the race easily. He was green as grass. Adayar, he was green as grass. He got caught quite a long way out of his ground, and he finished like a train. It was a really eye-catching run from Adayar, and quite the opposite. Alan Kerr was well positioned through that race, and I must admit, I didn't have the impression that he was definitely a 1.5 mile horse either, Alan Kerr, on the back.
I totally agree. I've got steps up and trip, mile 2 up to a 1.5 mile, question mark. And looking at his pedigree, he's not crying out for a 1.5 mile.
No, exactly. He's out of a German. It's a German family, isn't it? He's out of a German 1 mile winner. The downside, certainly, you're looking sort of mile and a quarter. And I thought he travelled well at Sandringham, close to what was only an ordinary gallop, and I thought he was well positioned. So reasons for me to not believe the sort of Adayar form line, and more and question him as a horse that's at the top of the market. And I think we're in agreement again here with Roger Varian's title. Camelot Colt, and I like his form. I thought his Newbury race when he finished second, even money favourite on his comeback. I think he was beaten by a potentially smart horse in Glen Savage. The two of them pulled well clear in a good time, and then he went to Yarmouth. He was very tight in the market, and he turned over the filly Sea Carrots, who'd already been placed in listed company. And I think she's a really useful filly. And he gave her £5. He beat her nearly 2 lengths. He was still very strong at the end of his race as well. He's got proven stamina because he's already been over this sort of distance to win his race. And as I say, I think basically all 3 times that he's run, although they've been in novice company, I think that all of the races have been strong races, and he's been up against good prospects.
Totally agree. Yeah, I think title's a big player. So the first thing I did was when I looked at Alan Carr's pedigree and beyond it, I just had doubts and tried to find something to beat him. And title was very much on form. What I came up with. The Commonwealth Cup. Where are we starting here? What do you think? Will Wesley Ward have a winner?
Well, yeah. He's got Campanelle in there. I mean, we know how fast she is and how effective she was at Ascot in the Queen Mary last season. The blinkers are back on. It's a tough ask though, first time out in her season, isn't it? I think that's the thing that sort of, and I do think that this is a very competitive race. I mean, again, difficult to have a really, really strong opinion on this for me, but I do like the Colt Dragon Symbol, who's just been absolutely thriving, and I like that about him really. The fact that he's had quite a lot of racing over the last 2 months. He's very much here and now and bang right at the top of his game. If you contrast that with Campanelle, first start of the season, I think we can expect a big run from Dragon Symbol, because quite simply, every time that we've seen him on the track over the last 3.5 months, he's produced a big performance. He's now done it on the turf. He was impressive at Hamilton. He's done it on soft ground at Haydock last time out, which I didn't think he seemed in love with. And he was stuck just a little bit on a limb as well, the way that race developed. He was stuck a little bit more towards the stand side. And I thought if he'd have had more to race with and been part of the main pack, I thought he would have maintained his unbeaten record at Haydock. But he's got a great attitude, loads of speed. I think the track at Ascot with the stiff finish, because of the fact that he does find for pressure as well, I think that will suit him. Dragon Symbol, and I'm banking and hoping that a high draw isn't a disadvantage anyway. It certainly hasn't been over the course of the week so far. So I think stall 18 could be the right sort of place to be.
I thought the French filly was very interesting indeed. She's unbeaten in 4 starts so far. They've all come at Chantilly, effective over 5 and 6, which I like. And plenty of guesswork involved, because how strong is that form compared to ours? It's difficult to know, but I just thought she looked interesting in what was a fascinating race. What about the Coronation? Because this is a strong race. Mother Earth, who of course won the Guineas, was second in the French Guineas, I think does set the standard. Do you agree?
Yeah, and certainly she's consistently shown it now, hasn't she, with those 2 back-to-back runs, as well as the placed form in the Fillies Mile, the Breeders' Cup last season. She's held her own in Group 1 company, Group or Grade 1 company, consistently from last year. So we know that she's very smart. Say it about a filly that's won the 1,000 Guineas, but I still don't feel like her form is sort of outstanding. I still feel like it's there to be shot at. She's nailed on to be in the mix and run well, because she's consistently achieving high standards. But I still don't feel that standard that she sets is so high that it can't be surpassed by something else, or maybe even lull you into something at a big price to cause an upset in what actually it's a competitive race, and maybe a wide open race, without the horse, like in some of the other races, that sets that bar that's so high that you think it'll win if they give the running sort of thing. I like Primo Baccio, the filly for Walker. She did a good turn of foot last time. But my suggestion in this is to go for the big prize one, go for the shock, and hope that Shale can improve on her reappearance run. Now, we talked a couple of months ago ahead of what should have been the Irish 1,000 Guineas for Shale, but she didn't make it there. But at that point, Donica O'Brien hadn't had a reappearance winner in the calendar year, and that remains the case now. So Donica's horses have been coming on an awful lot for their first run. I don't think they were quite ready in the spring, and yet she still ran a good race to finish 5th in the 1,000 Guineas trial at Leopardstown, despite blowing up and probably needing it. She won the Moyglare last season as a 2-year-old. I really liked her. I thought she dug deep in the pressure and got a good attitude all the way through last season. She won't mind it if the rain comes, Shale. So a big price. She's my idea of the value bet in the Coronation Stakes.
Yeah, I know Team Ballydor think Mother Earth is very good. I've tended to be gone with her, but I do think Primo Bashir was a very interesting alternative. And as you say, it's a race that could easily throw up a shock, and it's a fascinating one. What about the Sandringham? Well, this is tricky. Where should we start? I quite like the chance of Hugo Palmer's Glasgow Girl. 2 from 2 and Blinkers obviously needs to probably improve a bit, but I thought the trip would suit. She's certainly going the right way, and Hugo's horses have been running well at Ascot without winning. Keats getting beaten by the draw, and yeah, I thought she at a bigger price was interesting in a field. Did you have a strong view?
Yeah, she's got Mark Crean on as well, hasn't she? I wouldn't say I've got a strong view, but I do think that Tia Delina, again, going for the big price angle, I do think that she was about 20, 25 to 1 when I checked a little bit earlier, Tia Delina. Now, she's a course and distance winner at Ascot already this season. I like that, the fact that she's got an effectiveness at the track. And then she ran really well again last time out. She was in against the boys in the Silver Bowl at Haydock, behind Radaborg, who actually runs on Thursday's card and is well fancied for the Britannia Stakes. And she got stopped in a run at Haydock. She still managed to finish 3rd, but she got stopped in a run when she was still travelling pretty well. So Tia Delina, she's still improving. Her form is strong. She's already won over course and distance this season to prove herself effective at the track. And I think she's going to get the strong pace to aim at, which she really wants. She's that hold-up filly. And I think over the mile distance at Ascot, quite often in these big fields, they just go that little bit too quick in front, and it can suit the hold-up horses coming into the mix later on. So Tia Delina at a price for me to go well again at Ascot.
What about the Duke of Edinburgh Stakes? It doesn't get much easier. A couple of horses I picked out that were sort of fairly prominent in the betting are Day and Quickthorn, both of which absolutely dotted up last time and have both gone up £13 for smooth successes. Quickthorn, I suppose, was the one of the two that I slightly preferred, Huey Morrison and Oisin Murphy teaming up together. But an open and competitive little race nonetheless.
They all are, aren't they? They all are. And again, it's pretty difficult to pick hold in those two that you've mentioned, A Day and Quickthorn. That they'll have their supporters, and understandably so. Both of them really impressive winners on their most recent starts. I think particularly, Quickthorn obviously was 8.5 lengths, but I was seriously impressed by what A Day did at Newmarket. He just tanked through the race, didn't he? On the bridle, took it to bits very quickly. And he beat Rodrigo Diaz, who himself has been an improver over the last 12 months or so. So that was impressive. And Rodrigo Diaz has come out to win again subsequently as well. So there's lots of substance to his form. Quickthorn was really good, really impressive. But again, I was just taking an angle to try and throw one in at a big price, really. So I was looking towards something each way at a price that I thought would give its running. And Win O'Clock, number 3 on the card for Roger Charlton, is the horse that ticks that box. He's just held his form really well for the last 12 months now. I liked his run at York last time out when he was a little bit too keen early on, but he still kept finding in the closing stages behind Illarab. That was a strong race. He's a strong stayer at 1.5 miles. And the fact that they're going to go a gallop, stamina is going to come into it a little bit, and he's won over a little bit further already. So he'll keep going, Win O'Clock. And I think he's a horse that, with some bookmakers offering extra places as well, plenty of that about, he might just reward you for each way support and get a profit.
We've spoken about the draw, and it's going to be difficult to predict in the last, isn't it? 5 furlong handicap, lots of runners at 6:10. We'll start by talking about some of the obvious ones. The first couple heading the market are Equality and Boom Shala. they are drawn 19 and 22. Quality really quite impressive, winning a maiden at Wolverhampton by 9 lengths last time. Handicap debut here off a mark of 88. And then you've got Boom Shalah, who looked pretty good this year, over 6 furlongs, a stiff 5 with a really strongly run race. I can see he's going to suit, but I know you're probably going to say the same here. You don't have a strong view, so you're going to come up with an alternative view at a big price.
Well, I'm not,
I can see it coming.
I'll tell you what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that a horse that I part own is one of the horses towards the front of the market, Warrior Brave. And he's officially £7 well in after finishing second in a listed race at Sandown last week. We've put the first time blinkers on him because Sylvester just thought last week.
Cheek-pieces have really worked the trick, haven't they? And now you've gone for some blinkers.
Yeah, Sylvester just thought that he needed some, just a little bit more focus in the middle of the race more than anything. He was just shifting off the line a little bit, and he felt that the blinkers would help him. So we've taken his advice on that score. He's been a very progressive horse for the last 9 months since we bought him. He's won 3 of his 6 starts for us. As I say, we kind of threw him into the listed race at Sandown, knowing that we'd still be able to run here off his old mark, if you like, if we ran well. And it worked out perfectly in that he finished second. So he's officially £7 well in. He's come out of his race bouncing. We think he goes there in good form. My main concern is that Stall 13 right in the middle might not be where you want to be. It hasn't been where you want it to be so far this week. So that is a concern, but I've got to stick with him. It's been the plan. And he goes there in good form, and he's definitely well handicapped. So, fingers crossed.
Well, good luck. It's really exciting to go there with a chance. And Top Hat and Tails, are they all being dusted off for tomorrow?
Yes. Yeah. Well, they were out at Epsom the other week actually. So
of course they were. Yeah.
They were dusted off for Epsom, and now I can pull them out for the second time this year. But hopefully it all works out tomorrow. It'd be brilliant if we could even get in the first few, get competitive at Royal Ascot. It'd be fantastic.
Well, these challenging things that you've got ahead of you, when you're such a successful owner, and your biggest problem is worrying about the tails coming out here, there and everywhere. But nice problem to have, and definitely really exciting. What about Saturday? You could be very hungover on Saturday morning and not in fit shape to watch any of the racing, or it could be being watched from the sofa. We kick off with a Chesham, and I know Team O'Brien are very, very keen on Point Lonsdale, and that is reflected in this one's price.
Yeah, my theme for Friday's racing was generally look at bigger prices and take on the front end of the market. And if you hit 1 or 2 across the card, then you'll have done well and you'll hit a profit. But if I do really like one at the front end of the market, I'm not going to get away from it. I struggle to see this horse. If he builds as I'd expect him to on his debut performance, I think he will win the Chesham, really. He ticks pretty much every box that I would look at. The time performance with a big effort when he won at the Curragh, recorded a time form speed figure of 96. Not many horses go that high and run that fast on their debut, simple as that. Usually when they do, it marks them down as genuine pattern performer in the making. He's a full brother to Broome, who's obviously a multiple pattern race winner himself anyway, and he's already proven himself over the 7 furlong trip and seen his race out strongly over this trip, which not many of the opposition have. So you've got a horse probably with the best form, certainly the best time performance, the best pedigree, from probably the best stable at readying a horse for this type of race. I think that although he's a short price, he fully deserves to be, and I think Point Lonsdale will be extremely difficult to beat in the Chesham.
Totally agree. The vibes have been extremely strong, and it's not a surprise that he's a short price favourite now, and I think will probably be shorter come the day. What about the Jersey Stakes? I was talking to Charlie Appleby the other day. It was Monday, I think, and I said, 2 horses that your best chances of the week, and Creative Force was one of them. He really, really likes this horse in the Jersey, and it's not a surprise. He's been very progressive, 3 from 3 this year, all over 6 furlongs, but on pedigree is crying out for another furlong.
He is, isn't he? That's the thing. I mean, he's strong at the end of his 6 furlong race. He's bred to stay 7 furlongs, so he should be fine. He was really impressive last time out. I hadn't been that impressed with him when he won the handicap the time before. Like, it was a good performance, but he only beat 3 rivals. he produced all of his best performances at Newmarket and the Past. That is one thing that bothers me a little bit, is that he's coming back to Ascot, and he's like, the only time that he's not won in his career was in last year's Coventry, and he did finish down the field at Ascot. So that's just sort of in the back of my mind as a potential problem. But there's no doubt that on the Newbury form last time out, Creative Force has got a chance. I wondered about the filly Vadream for Charlie Fellows, who didn't quite get home over the mile in 1,000 guineas, did she? But she travelled about as well as anything through the chunk of the race, and then she just got very tired in the final furlong. Still only beaten 3.5 lengths into 6 in a guineas. It was a good run. She's got scope for more improvement after just 3 career starts, and I think coming back to 7 is going to help her out.
Richard Sarbeck is another one that has to be of interest, because he was so impressive when he won the Craven. They then supplemented him for the guineas. It was sort of will we, won't we, because I know Charlie for a while felt that he maybe wasn't sort of tough enough and battle hardened enough. Anyway, they went for it. And I think he dropping back to 7, I think, will suit. And I do think he's very talented. It makes it for a very interesting race.
It does, yeah. I mean, he'll go hard out in front. Goal 1, maybe a little bit of a doubt about him in this size of field. I know we've said the Hunt Cup was won from there, but that's when you've got 30 runners right across the track. When you've got, 19 or 20, it's more condensed, and it's essentially further to get across to the far rail, isn't it? It's a little bit harder work for them. So that would just be a little bit of a query there. As I say, I thought the dream, Charlie Fellows, Jamie Spencer rides the track exceptionally, as we know. I thought she could go well at a price, each way price.
What about the Hardwicke Stakes? We'll talk about Broom just because we've mentioned him already in form lines. 3 from 4 this year was a short head behind Hardwicke Dream, but the ground was very, very testing that day, and I think he's better than that. So that was in the Tattersalls Gold Cup. But I think we've both shown our selections because we posted them through earlier, and I think we both agree with Ilarab, who's an interesting horse for William Haggis.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this horse, Ilarab, I mean, Broom, just to mention, he's having a brilliant season, isn't he? But yeah, I think he's been well placed to find those opportunities, and this is a notch up again for him. So he's got to really carry that improvement through into a better grade of race. Ilarab is in the same boat. Obviously, he's out of handicap company into a group race for the first time, but he's won 6 on the spin. His only defeat was on his debut. And the most impressive aspect of his reappearance win for me was how strong he was through the final furlong. Now, as a 3-year-old, he constantly pulled himself up in front, and look, he won by a neck, 3/4 of a length, a neck, 3/4 of a length, and all the time he was just doing no more than he had to do. When he got to the front, he was half pulling himself up. But at York,
just what you want when you're cruising up through the handicaps, isn't it?
Maybe the jockeys were told to disguise it. I don't know, but certainly Tom Marquand wasn't when he went to York last month.
No,
by over 1.5 miles, and he powered away from them. So yeah, that finishing effort last time out told us that he relished the trip, and also told me I thought that he was he's more grown up this season. I think he just knew how to finish off a race and seal the deal with real authority. So I like it, Ilarab. I'd go each way again. I think you'll get 4 places with most bookmakers, won't you? So there might be 1 or 2 offering 5. I don't know, but he's, last I looked, he was a double figure price. So the progressive Ilarab to hopefully make it 7 on the spin.
Yeah, totally agree. I think he's very interesting. As you say, it was a handicap last time, and he won off a mark of 102, but he did it very easily. And I think, now they've stepped him up in trip. I think this will really suit him. What about the Diamond Jubilee? Fascinating race. Starman and Nahar. There's not too much between them from the Duke of York Stakes.
No, what was it? A neck between them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I felt like Starman always had the race in command, really, that day. I know he won by a neck and I was closing, but Starman sort of won it with that little burst, didn't he, with that acceleration. That if you save it for the right part of the race, it's just a dangerous weapon to have, whereas Nahar was kind of hard at it all the way and had to be kept pushed and shoved to get to within a neck of Starman. So I felt that Starman had a little bit up his sleeve, essentially. If it rains, that would be a worry, wouldn't it, for Starman? That's kind of why I'm drifting away from him a little bit, because I think 48
That's exactly what I've done, yeah.
Yeah, if it's quick ground, I'd have gone Starman. You know, if we were recording this an hour beforehand, I said Starman's the horse to beat. But with a little bit of an unsettled weather forecast, Dream of Dreams is a horse that's versatile with regards to ground conditions. He's had 2 near misses in the Diamond Jubilee in the last 2 seasons. And I liked his reappearance. We only beat 2 horses, but it showed us that he's here and he's in form and he's trained. You know, he still retains his ability. I thought the manner that he won that race.
He's definitely better though, don't you think, on soft ground? I think that's what he really loves.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right. I mean, he ran a big race in the Diamond Jubilee, was it 2 years ago when Danny Cudder rode him?
Yeah, and then he was beaten just ahead, as you said, in last year. I know they've always felt, the Stout team, that he really comes alive and he's at his super best when it's soft ground. But as you say, who knows how much rain we're going to have between now and then. The first couple of days, it has been rattling quick.
Yes.
So it's difficult to say, isn't it? But at this stage, where are you siding?
Yeah, well, Dream of Dreams, as I say, Dream of Dreams I'm siding with, because I do think there will be a bit of rain. I think the ground might ease, and I think it'll just tip it in his favour. He's been beaten by narrow margins in this race twice. It was, I think, Timeform called it good to firm when he was just edged out in it in 2019. So at this moment in time, whatever the weather does, I don't think it's too much of a barrier to him. As I say, if the lining up and it's 10 minutes before the race and you're listening and thinking, what do I back? Then Starman, I do think, is the likeliest winner of the race. He's seriously progressive, isn't he? And if it's a fast surface, I think he's the horse to beat. But if it's gone on the soft side of good, it'll very much work against him.
Martin, your fan club will be playing this many times between now and Saturday and rewinding it just to get the final verdict just close to the off. So anyway, it's good that you're giving them options all the way through, just to keep them on the hook. What about the Wokingham?
What do you like in the Diamond Jubilee?
No, but it's not a strong selection.
Right.
It's just there's not much between him and Starman, and at the price, he's double the price. And I don't think there's a lot between them. And as you say, it's slightly guessy because I don't know what the ground's going to be like. I'm slightly thinking there is going to be the rain that there's forecast, and then that would be a concern for the favourite. Was my line of thinking.
Ultimately, that's why I went through the green. So I think we will have some rain, and I think if that is the case, then the ground goes on the soft side of good. I'll definitely be with Dream of Dreams in that case, because I think it would be a negative standing.
Okay. The 5 o'clock, the Wokingham. I quite like Pendleton here. I was really impressed with the way in which he won at York last time. He's got very good form here. He's won here and he's finished second here, beaten narrowly. I like that. And I really like what he did last time. But again, I hope there's a bit of rain.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, his improvement has really come with giving the ground, hasn't it? Michael Dodd.
So again, to all our fans who are listening to this just before the race, then do bear that in mind.
It's a fair point.
What are you thinking?
Well, whenever you're listening, I think Ropey Guest, as long as the price hasn't crashed from 50s into 10 to 1, but who knows, it might have done. But at the moment, he's 50s, Ropey Guest. He won't mind which way the ground goes. He's nearly the outside of the whole field at the current prices. And he ran an absolute screamer in the Victoria Cup, this horse. George Margson's been doing this for years, like getting horses to outperform their odds in these big handicap races at the big meetings, particularly Ascot. And Ropey Guest, he was only beaten 2 lengths in the Victoria Cup, wasn't he? He was strong at the finish. Admittedly, that was 7 furlongs, and he might just get taken off his feet a little bit early on in the Wokingham. But they are likely to go hard. The leaders, I think, will falter a little bit. And I can assure you that Ropey Guest will be staying on late. So hopefully he stays on late to finish in the first 5 or 6 home and you get rewarded for each way money. But he's a talented horse. He's an in-form horse. And if he gets the race developing ahead of him in such a way where there's a bit of a pace collapse, I think Ropey could get involved at a big price.
Very good. Interesting. What about the 5:35? well, we'll start with some of the obvious horses. King Frankel, who's probably one of the key form horses, was second to Solent Getaway at Epps and beaten narrowly last time. The second to Bay Bridge, who I love. The time before that, no match for the winner on that occasion. Then you've got Alpha Dell, who was well fancied, won at Chester and Lingfield. Pretty nice horse. Have you got a strong view here?
I have. This is one of those market leaders that I'm very much behind. I think Alpha Dell's a really good horse.
You like which? Sorry, Alpha Dell.
Alpha Dell, yeah. I think this is a very good horse. I'm aware that he's favourite, but as I said before, if I'm right behind one of the things, then I'm happy to be with them. And he's a standout for me in this field. I think he is better than a handicapper. I think he'll go on to win pattern races in the future. But the most impressive part for me was at Chester when he won. I thought he was still a little bit babyish, and I almost thought that he looked a little bit slow, to be honest, at Chester. But that was only the second career start, and the transformation from how he travelled through the race at Lingfield compared to Chester, which was 20 days on and another run behind him.
Yeah.
You know, he looked like a completely different horse. He tanked his way through the Lingfield race. He picked off Rumi up the home straight like he was standing still, and Rumi actually reopposes, but he's gone on to frank that form by winning a handicap since. I was just seriously impressed by Alpha Dell, and like I say, the most impressive thing I thought was the transformation in him from Chester and how he'd looked there to then looking more like the finished article and the real deal in how he won the Lingfield race and sort of picked them off very easily. So I do like him. I think he's a very good horse, and I think he'll take a lot of it.
I think Chester is great for that because it is quite demanding. You know, you're always on the turn, you've got to travel, and they learn a lot from it. So the fact that he has, and then he's been much more streetwise and sort of switched on to the world next time is not a surprise. You know, and it's not going to be a new world for him when he gets to Ascot. But no, very, very interesting, and they definitely think plenty of him. I put that River Alwyn as an each-way selection. He won at Newmarket, then he was third behind King Frankel, but King Frankel was 4 lengths ahead of him on that occasion. I just thought maybe the way the race has run might suit him slightly better here, but still, it's a bit of a guess at a bigger price. But no, I think the favourite will be tough to beat. And then the Queen Alexander, 2 miles 5, is dominated by Irish horses, which is not a surprise. In the betting here, you've got Jesse Harrington's Barbados, Vulcan 8 for Dermot Weld, who is ridden by Frankie Dettori, and I think it's very interesting. I was really impressed by what he did in the Chester Cup. They really fancied him that day, and I just think there's lots more to come. Obviously, he's got to prove he stays a little bit further, but I think once you get a Chester Cup trip, an extra few furlongs is slightly neither here nor there.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair enough. And he's always looked like a very strong stayer. I think Vulcan 8 looks like he's been sort of laid out for this ever since he won the Chester Cup. They've given him a nice little refresh, haven't they? 43 days between races. So it looks like a good piece of target training from Dermot Weld. I wouldn't have any sort of negatives about his chance, really. He's quite skinny at the top of the market, isn't he, relatively so. And I just liked Mirando on the basis of his track record at Ascot. I think this is the right race to be running him in as well. He hasn't proven his stamina for this far, but not many horses have. And
Yeah.
I've always got the impression with Mirando that he just gallops and just keeps galloping, really. So I don't envisage the trip being a problem for Mirando. He won the Cumberland Lodge at Ascot back in 2019 by a wide margin. The ground was soft then, so if they do have rain, then that's no problem. And he ran a good race in the long distance to finish 4th behind Truchamp last autumn as well. So his Ascot record is very good. Mirando's, I thought he ran pretty well at Goodwood last time out in a messy 5-runner race. He was only beaten a length and a half there. And I can see just the test of the Queen Alexandra suiting him at a track where he goes very well.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Well, that wraps up day 5 of Royal Ascot. Has it been a good couple of days so far? Are you up?
No, not at the moment. Not at the moment. I'm hoping that Alpha Dell and maybe the O'Brien horse on Saturday. They'd be. I know that they're both short.
And obviously your own horse, which is cash in your pocket and into your bank account.
Well, that would be the most important. That would be the most important one of the lot. To be fair, he's likely to head to the sales at Newmarket next month, regardless of what happens tomorrow. So hopefully it's a last hurrah for us.
Brilliant. Martin, thanks very much indeed. We will talk to you next week and obviously reflect on some of the best performances of the week. Happy punting, good luck, and we'll speak to you again soon.